Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Islands of Insight. So I've left this game running, so let's just see and make sure that everything seems like it's going to run fairly smoothly and that there isn't going to be a huge memory leak. What's funny is I noticed while I left this game paused that some of these sky drops just appeared and disappeared right next to me. So even pausing the game, since this is based off of an MMO, is not really pausing the game per se. So we see there's like a clear area here in this vault of Vitric, and I'm not sure that we ever really proved that the world within worlds description that was in one of these mysteries actually applies to this big area. There might just have been something else that was world within worlds. Now I know, because I've already looked and cheated, that while it only takes 5 mysteries to get into the Vault of Vitric, you need 15 of the 21 to get to the entirety of it. So, yeah. The path of secrets is not so transparent as it looks. Only those with the highest strength, man, I'm having real trouble reading that, of mind will rise to the challenge, yet those who emerge on the top level have not reached the pinnacle of the known, for there is more yet to come. So it seems like they're even promising more content. Yep. You can see the resolution of my screen here, leaving a lot of room where this could have been definitely a bigger sized thing. But also, in fairness, I am looking at this on a TV 8 feet away, and clearly this is a game designed for PC gaming where you'd only be a foot or two away, which I hear is bad for your eyes. The laid-back experience, though, for this game really needs to exist. And what's funny here is it seems like they're showing a clear version of this enclave. So, is the entirety of this pyramid going to become clear at some point? Reflect on what you've learned. Exit quickly. Okay. So this could be fairly easy. Yeah. But then this could also be fairly hard. All dark regions have a region of 4. Okay. So that means something weird is happening here. How do you do that? Then you have to do that, and you have to do that, and you have to do that. But no, that's a region of 5. So there was more to this rule. For a second there I thought I was just going to do that and then just fill it in however I wanted. But no, there's a whole trick here. Inherently, that means that has to be white. And then that makes this a dark region, that makes this a dark region. Yeah. So we're gonna have to just figure some things out here. Means this is white too. Means we're pushing that way. Which means that's white too. Which means we're pushing that way. Which means that's white too. Yeah, I don't know how you even would connect this. It's just kind of pushing everything in a really weird direction. And these are supposed to be your big final puzzles, but you know, I've cheated at a lot of puzzles, so like I kind of know some things about myself here, and one of the things I know about myself is that I really can't do it. Like, I don't know how to say that any nicer, really. Like, I just don't have, and I haven't developed the skill sets. I guess one of the things here I probably missed is something along that lines. Yeah, and you probably don't want something like that, if I was to guess. You probably do want something closer to that. But it can't just be centered like this. One of these does have to connect. And then that can't really connect that way. So yeah, and this kind of has to be that. So yeah, my real thought is probably something like that would have to happen. Okay, that helps us almost none. If this is black, and either that or that probably has to be white. Seriously, what is going on here? Yeah, I'm gonna end up just spending way too much time on all of this. Yeah. Let's see, we've got a 4 here. If we could just shift some things. That is white. Interesting. Well, I have no idea how we get that shape. Okay. So very first puzzle. The goal time here was apparently 35 seconds to exit this area. There is more here. And solving the puzzles themselves isn't opening a door. So you're just being actively encouraged to ruin your time by doing these kinds of puzzles. Just start with that. And I know you get kinds of bonuses. For not making errors. But honestly, I don't think it is really worth the effort to dance around all that. Yeah, I'd definitely call this a world within worlds. I suppose we are proving what we've learned by solving these puzzles. The challenge here is to reach the exit and solve 30 puzzles, so we might as well do it. Galaxies. And then letters. Okay. So, if the move is that everything has to spin on the galaxy, is there another way to do that? This and this would lead to this and this, which would also lead to that, and then this leads to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this one here would do that. Falling action and rising action. You have a complete mistake here in that if there was going to be falling action in that all light regions have regions of 6. Okay, well then that means we've got to squeeze this down more, don't we? 3, 6, 9. 2, 4, 6. Probably means we need to do something along that lines. And 2, 4, 6, 8. Probably means do something along that line. And then this is going to open the path. 2, 4, 6. But yeah, what you can't do, or shouldn't do, you can do it, obviously they are doing, is combine your falling action and your rising action, which is exactly what they've done here, in that there was supposed to be a rush to exit this maze, and instead you were heavily encouraged to solve the puzzles within the maze, of which there's a lot. Count the opposite color cells in that direction. Well, if this sees 2, then you could certainly do something like that. But then this forces that to be that, and that forces that to be that. Which then creates this weird situation, doesn't it? This... yeah. That sees 2. Then that 2 would have to see 2. And that 2 would have to see 2. So it has to be something along that line. But then you only see 1 here, so then we also need something along that line. And then this sees 2, which means that and that has to be that way. This sees 1, so that has to be that way. This somehow is supposed to see 3, which locks you into a very weird situation. What's the whole point of having a locked-in shape like this? I keep expecting the game to give me some kind of like secret in the shape reveals, but honestly, even if there was a pattern in it, I'm not sure I would recognize the pattern. I do think that it is very possible I would not pay any attention to it at all. Yeah, like a little T shape in a circle, and then an entire empty white box on the left. Don't make this pattern. All dark regions have 2. Okay, well then let's assume some things there. Almost works. It might make some sense, certainly if these windows looked out to something slightly more interesting, or if lighting up the logic puzzles meant something more interesting. Yeah, I think I've kind of done them all. So I'm gonna hold the X, and then I'm going to just, let's see, try and run through this place quickly. Of course, that would really require me to know where I'm going, what I'm doing. And if that was that, I guess I'd be okay with that. That this is, I guess, inherently supposed to be, there are worlds within worlds, literally, and that the area we just came through was supposed to represent the more temple world, and now we are on top of this section and potentially are entering the second region. And there is a transparency on the inside where you can see the outside, which that is very surreal, I would say. That screams and some form of magic. What do you want to call it? A computer simulation, or what do you wanted to call it? Just the magicalness of the aurora. Well, apparently we found out in the last episode at one time had a human body. It definitely feels to me like this is a more interesting thing to see, but it also really feels like that means that this should have been something that unlocked, I think, fairly early, or way earlier in the game. It would have definitely changed the overall feeling. There was kind of just an overall dullness to this world. That would have been slightly adjusted, I would say, if you were able to enter the first part of the Vault of Vitric. And certainly then you would have had slightly more of a goal in the game overall, because we really have been fairly goalless, other than the game description on Steam saying there's 10,000 plus puzzles, which that's not a goal I really want to hear about. Right, here we have a whole pattern thing, which there are limitations on what this pattern could be, and there are repetitions here, and I guess I've never really thought about that. So if this is the same and this is the same, then we only have, I guess, these four that are different. So could this shape here be anything other than this shape? I don't think it can. Could this is probably a bad one to choose. This one can't be this shape, and it can't be this shape, so it would have to be that shape. So that eliminates this one and this one, leaving us only with this one, which can only be this shape. And then this one. So yeah, maybe that is a whole element that I've dropped the ball on. Now, why is there a blue beam going through here? It's locked. Oh, I see. actually does come back down. Where'd the little thing go? See, I thought that was an invisible ring, but now that I look at it, it's actually just a wall. I guess we'll go back down here and investigate a little bit more. There is nothing Let's just ignore that chase sequence. There's nothing really here that forces me to solve all the puzzles though. So I probably should just be a bit more flippant about it. We know we're not getting all the puzzles done, so yeah. This is yet another puzzle. Yet another maze. Don't make this connect to all dark cells. Okay. Don't make that pattern either. Viewpoints, number of visible cells in an area. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think we've got a general idea here as far as how this is all going to go. But it is just going to move things up to certain angles. So, yeah, effectively that's it. The only next part of it would be can we adjust things? I would assume that this bubble solves a lot of issues, and that 19 probably solves a lot of issues too. So it's just one symbol per light area. And we have to connect all dark areas. Yeah, I don't see how you pull this off and connect all the dark areas. Seems like you have to probably do something like that. And even at that, I'm not sure you're getting high enough. There's no way this 19 goes over on this side or this side. It has to go in the center. That only gives us 4 plus another 6 is 10, 11, 12. We have to then find a way in which it can sneak back out. I don't see it. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 if we did that. And then 18 if we did that. 19 if we did that. And then we can't make this square section, which would mean something along that line. We can do that. We can do that. This is where we started. Well, slightly higher than where we started. This is one of the few cases where the pentads seem like they are actually helping to potentially point you in a different direction. That has to actually be that way, doesn't it? Then that limits that to that spot. And that limits that down to that spot. And we can do that. Knock that off. Do that. So inherently though, then this has to either hit this, or this would have to connect in some weird way, so I don't think that works. So it means this has to work. No, I am wrong. How in the world though would we disconnect these? We can disconnect those that way. But if it is going this way, then this would have to look somewhere completely different. hate that. I hate when you're just like one away. And the real danger here is that these pentads are hidden inside the area, inside the puzzles. That's one. The bubble isn't going to the exact outreaches of the area, which that's helpful. Okay. 2 white equals black, 2 black equals white. 1 black and 1 white equals black. So this seems like this is probably a binary and. Of course, I don't know then whether it would be that way or that way. And I'm wrong. So, well, I thought it was. Doesn't seem to be right. Two white equals black. But then here, 2 white equals white. Yeah, so I'm completely confused as far as what the logic there is. And you'd prefer it not to be the case that that ever happens. Is that? No, I thought for a second that was a monolith fragment. I'm like, how could it be a monolith fragment? Must equal the region. Well, then that is going to start us down a pretty simple path. Let's go ahead and make some assumptions here. That can't be that way, can it? It can't be that way, can it? That forces us into a weird shape. I just kind of don't believe we can actually reach. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, absolutely nothing here is right. Six. Three, 6, 7, 8, 9 would have to have something like there. Wow. So if we shift everything around, then is there some possibility? Okay, then we would just need to eliminate a couple more here. Getting very, very close to the solution. All dark areas have 2, all numbers are off by 1. I have no idea how this would work. Dewey is not going to be 5. Okay. Are we getting anywhere close to being right? That can't be right. That isn't right. Interesting. 2, 4, 6 still wouldn't be right. So this could be 2. And then we could barrier off a section there, barrier off a section there. Still not quite getting it. Apparently there's just entire mistakes that have been made. Yep. Inherently, if you like these puzzles, getting more of the same, you probably would enjoy this. If you have had your fill which is definitely the case for me. This is going to just irritate you. Let's see. This would have to go something like that to reflect that, and that limits that, I think, or at least limits that much. Just rotating there and there. Oh, because this also would have to rotate. So we can do this. Then we also know all shapes have 7. So if I'm gonna pull this off, I need the right amount. All dark regions have 7. How do I pull that off? If I was to do this much, that wouldn't work. Yeah. You already have your 7 there, so can't really echo. This, it didn't require that. Yeah, there's just no way to actually solve that. That direction. If this goes down, then it would have to go up here to match. If it went up, it would have to go up there to match. Yeah. None of this makes sense. Yeah, we can't go any longer. That has to be that way. This could be this way. This can't go any higher. So that could be that way. But if it isn't that, then I have no clue what it is. guess if you turned it that direction, maybe. Maybe that would do something. Six, seven, that direction. Maybe that could then do something like that. Maybe that would lead to something more. Alright, well, inherently that can't be the part of that. So then that has to go. This is just putting too many pieces. What in the world is going on here? Like, how in the world do you connect this to match that? I just don't see it happening. Yeah. And I have no clue as far as whether the match is supposed to be there or the match is supposed to be there. So let's just leave all that alone. This is way too many pieces. Okay. So that makes a zigzag pattern. Which does seem like something you could continue. But if I am supposed to continue it, still don't really see. Remove. Here, would go here, which would move that out of the way to like there. And that. Got it. Finally. But yeah, we're really not doing anything new or special here. It's just more puzzles. Yeah, let's actually exit this place if we can. I wanted to do these. I'm doing really poorly here. Let's just do. Yeah, just flood it with that to start with. And then do the pattern. I don't really get, though, the idea of relearning or redoing insights. When it seems kind of obvious what what is going to happen here. I guess if we just kept following these logics, we probably would figure it out. That there's probably just a snake pattern here. Snake pattern is going to lead to a diamond pattern, I suspect. Yeah. Same move on this. We'll see if this works without really thinking about it. Okay, so then that has to be that way. And then that has to be that way. Okay, that can't be there. That can't be there. Let's see. That can't be there. That one can't be that way. So again, let's just make a diagonal pattern and see how far that takes us. Just variations on the same theme. How many different ways can you fill in a picture? And how many different ways do you have to play before you realize what the pattern is going to be? Okay. If that is the case, what would be the case if that was like that, and that was like that, and then let's see, that can't be there, which makes that be there, which gets rid of that, and that also eliminates, well, this pattern here is actually pretty useless as far as information goes. Yeah. This can't be here. And 4 can't be in a row. That can't be there. If the pattern holds, then it's supposed to be something like that. Yep. Took me longer to recognize that pattern. Don't make 3 in a row, so we'll start with that. See how that goes. And let us make a jump in assumption. Let's make that pattern. Of course, the problem here is, am I really applying logic to any of this? No, I really am not. I am instead cheating by just applying known patterns that might be good. And this is where this logic, I think, is going to fall potentially apart. I might be making a mistake here by following a pattern when there actually isn't a pattern. If we can find the pattern. Okay, I see a shape filling in. Potentially. And see, I'm still assuming a lot here, which may not be true. We've gotten pretty close. To avoiding any real issues here. Zigzag can't make that pattern though. Which inherently is just going to constantly make that pattern. Just trying to eliminate all the possible problems, and it's not working. Yeah, it's just a different shape that it's trying to get you to draw, I think, this time. I really could just be miles away from what the right shape is. This is one of those ones where the logic is going to fall apart. So I probably should just use as many foresights as possible. So we didn't get all the way through. These chase sequences, again, just feeling really out of place. Where'd it go? It's kind of weird I haven't gotten any of the matchboxes done right. And that's like a door. So that's one Mariblis. But admittedly, we have to point out that there's like 6 Mariblises in this area. And so if I'm going to let's keep an eye on it this time. Barely have enough time. Although I suppose I could cheat somewhat too and fly. There's another pattern recognition one. Well, let's see. There's 3 spots. This plus this rotated. This here and this here. This shape here rotated, this shape here rotated. No. I can say that I see it favoring the left. So one of them feels like it would be that. 3, 5, 7, 4, 2, 6. And then 8. Well, there would have to be a 9. Wouldn't there? And a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4, 3, 8. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 2 plus this. Yeah. So that means that is either that is our 9. And that means that is our 6. How did we approach that without a hint? I have no idea. Yeah. I got the basics of this pattern. But the actual positioning feels to me like you would have had to just guess. And really I just want to get to this upper area. I think that I'm not seeing any red matchbox at all. But yeah, getting to the upper area just so we can see what the rest of this is. Now, who the heck is Vitric is a very valid question to ask as far as how all this would go. So, let's see. We would have to connect all light sections. And viewpoint sections have to be connected too. And we can't make that pattern. We can't make this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, so yeah, this is just increasingly getting annoying. Okay, I have no idea how that's supposed to connect. then if this is looking that way, then you basically have to do something like that, but then basically have to do something like that, basically have to do something like that. I guess maybe we can figure out some other trick. Yeah, how are you supposed to connect the white sections without making a T shape? You just do it that way, I guess. Wow, really close. And I guess we just need to solve these puzzles, so these glass mazes. So I'm gonna just run around them. I've never done these particularly well, and notably there really is just not enough square footage and room for doing a lot of these in the game. You barely run into any. Honestly, this feels like the kind of puzzle that could have been a one-time thing. That there would have been one area, at the very least, with these glass puzzles. But, yeah. Doesn't really feel like it. That's the case. Is that getting me any further? Maybe there is a trick here. So that is getting me almost exactly where I'd want to go. Then that kind of just changes everything. So how do I get up higher? Yeah, you crawl around here. You reach here. There's a walled section. Here is one we've already done, it seems. I can see that there's a matchbox I can just barely see here. What is... There's like a whole scenery section. I guess maybe you were supposed to go there, and I guess maybe this is as far as we've gotten. Now we'll just use a high jump. Get a little higher. I guess we probably are approaching the tops of most of the puzzles. What would these be like? That seems very difficult. That seems slightly more doable. But you are just gonna have the weird visuals going. This is another great example of how you've got the sphere of the Pintat puzzle changing the visuals in a poor way. And then even if you go outside of the sphere, you still have the semi-transparent surface that also makes the views worse. Well, ideally it would be completely clear like a laser wall, and then it would get foggier or put off in the audio static as you approached it. So there's just a whole shielded section here. From the looks of it. What opens the shielded section? Secrets lie beyond, waiting to be solved. This is the treasure adventure. And so just clicking on it took me to another area. Alright. One would assume that the Pintat puzzle there did not equate to Pintat puzzle here. There's this blue light, which is the laser here, connecting that. And so again, we can just see through the higher part of the mountain of this pyramid. Still have no idea who Vitric is, still not seeing any lore givers that would lead towards any new understanding. It's gonna be my goal to just run through this whole area. we can find pin tabs, I'll grab them, but mostly I am just trying to work my way through all this. You can't click on even those from a distance if there's a shield in the way or glass wall in the way. Inherently, all these puzzles just make me rub against the edges of it. Which, in fairness, I guess if you always had your hand on the right side or left side of a wall, that is one way to solve almost any puzzle. Of course, if you have a shifting puzzle, that won't be the case. Or if you have a situation where you can't keep your hand on the wall. That could break it. And certainly you're not going to solve these mazes fast just rubbing against the walls and the edges of the wall. Definitely think we're going down to go up. So the whole laser connected puzzles here are going to give you extra frustration if you were trying to solve them, because you would have to go back and forth on different levels to find the right puzzle that unlock. You may have to actively walk through the entire maze 2 or 3 times, just wasting the player's time. Now, one thing I will say is I do appreciate that there is a level here as far as different colors. Connect all dark cells, underclude grid, don't make a certain pattern, connect all light cells. Okay. If I was to put a dark cell here, is there any way it could be connected without making a certain pattern? Yeah, if we did this, this would be black. If we did this, I mean, all of those could be white, though. So I would suspect it's the relationship here, that if this was black here, then this couldn't be black, and this couldn't be black, or this couldn't be black, and this couldn't be black. Although it seems like almost any of that is true. So yeah, my thought would be something along that line. Maybe it has nothing to do with those pieces though. Maybe it has something to do with this. If we can't make this pattern, then could we do a straight line? Yes. Could we do that? No. Could we do that? Yes. Could we do that? No. So yeah, I think any way it comes in, unless it just comes in straight, that has to be black. That possibly has to be white. Well, not even right about that. So apparently, in the logic, those three have to be white. And see, I'm wasting my time even like solving that, because then I would just be encouraged to follow the chain to solve this next one, which I don't want to waste the time on. Like, inherently, this doesn't even really need to be a 2.5 hour to 3 hour experience. There's nothing here. And so this is the one place where it is actually glass on both sides. Or it was, at least. And so these were the by far, one assumes, most difficult puzzles would be the ones right at the top here. I definitely can see that being true. Yeah. This does feel to me like this is potentially the combination of multiple challenges. Yeah. And is it a case that this makes some kind of shape that's super special? I mean, if it does, again, I just don't think I'd see it. It would almost imply that there was some kind of special shape uniquely for each region, but the problem with that is there's still a couple of regions in that area. Yeah. And so we're now back to what I suspect is the top. Do we still have this activated? Yes, we do. So the bubble has just gotten really small while I was wandering around, to the point where I can't even see it. Okay. Then you don't get the quick exit. Now let's talk about that for a second. Now I don't get the quick exit out of this area. I could teleport myself, certainly. But I definitely didn't put any warps down or anything like that. So you run through this entire section. So yeah, I don't even think that's worth it. So let's just teleport here. We do have a luminous quest we can claim while we're at it. We could take that. This does show us that from the outside looking in, you still are in the same situation. It is a solid area. And you're just not going to remember the solutions. I'm not going to remember the solutions here to exit this area. I don't think that one's even particularly difficult. Yeah, I think the shape here just is going to zigzag back and forth. So we saw going up. How do we go down? Because as far as the mysteries go, you should have been able to go downward before you did the upper area. Kind of seen, I think, as much. This is the basement of Vitric. Okay. So there's just some walls sections that look like they are glass elevators, but or glass puzzles, but they really aren't. We can see in this case, not all of it is see-through. Yeah, I severely doubt that there's much of anything. This game doesn't have like achievements, so at least not on Steam, so your extra motivation that you might get from that is just non-existent. And as far as I can tell, I would assume that these are all hard-coded puzzles. The water makes just a little bit of sense here. You would have to be in the exact right spot with these setups. That would probably just take a really long amount of time going around in circles. And it seems like that is all this is. It's just very large versions of this. Which I guess you could use your daily quest to get up to there. So this is just yet another way up to higher areas. Is this an area we've been to before? Yes. This is just on top. And this is an exit. You can stand on top of these and you're still not close enough. Okay. That was completely unsatisfactory. And so there's just several of these, I guess, around, up and down glass puzzles, taking up a large amount of room, but being locked behind mysteries that many players may never see or engage with. But yeah, that's gonna create a weird scenario where some of your best content may very well be inside this vault of Vitric. But the rewards for persevering to reach it is going to be minimal. The encouragement to even do it is going to be fairly minimal. This doesn't seem like this would be too much. Yeah. Nothing really special there. I don't feel like there's really anything special to be seen on this ring. Do you see like these pads here? But these are just the bottom of the sentry pads. So I guess that gives you a nice view of something you wouldn't have seen before. I'm noticing that there's like no shy auras in this area, nor are we seeing any I swear I saw a bunch of rings. Yeah, there's something weird going on there. Oh, it's just a sky drop. So a sky drop can literally randomly generate on the outside, and it can affect the world inside. Similarly, there's a kind of hole there. question is just how do you get into this maze, and I guess you just go through the center there. Oh, this is going to be annoying. Pentad bubbles. Going to only make this worse. Though it might be helpful in a few places, because it might show me where I can stand and where I can't. Nope, it's not really working. It's not a case of these puzzles being filled. All dark regions have two, inherently making something have to work kind of like that. All dark regions have an area of 3. Oh, I misread that. So yeah, the entirety of this crystal maze I think is built around just not falling. This might be somewhat built around jumping upward. What I'd like to see, though, if you're going to have your entire lower section be around a maze like this, is I would like to see all the glass shatter. This area clearly isn't the vertical slice section like the archipelago of curiosities was. This area, I think, probably was the day one thought of where the boss fight was going to be, for the lack of a better term, for a puzzle game. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think this is supposed to be the ultimate challenge. It would be kind of off-putting even if we finished this whole area and it turned out that there was a, like, the aurora was just sitting there looking at you at the end of that puzzle. I have no idea what the puzzle is supposed to be here. Is the thought that it has to be one wide, possibly a factor. Is it a thought that it has to wrap around and touch itself a factor? Wow. Well, that certainly changes things. It's still just like one wide though. Okay, confused. It's not really twisting around much though. It is going down that path. I don't know how it would reconnect, however. Is it a case where everything has to overlap and connect? If that was the case, though, I don't get it. Are we making just a giant pyramid shape? Well, suppose that might work. Oh well, who cares? Yeah, that's this whole game in a nutshell. Is just like, who cares anymore? This game lost my attention a long time ago. Yeah. And see, like, ideally I'd just like that to shatter the entirety of that crystal maze. Maybe leaving just a few platforms to do some jumps and things on. We're like 5 puzzles shy of actually getting each area done. And so what area was that supposed to be in the basement? And I just assume there isn't actually anything more. Well, I kind of know because I cheated and looked it up. Yeah. So each of these is just going to become a massive time waster. There's just no way around it. Run through a maze like this and then you would have to find all the puzzles. This is very much up and down as far as figuring out the right path. It definitely is weird that the one thing I would like to have happen here is that you would have some character named Vitric show up and talk to you, not just in the form of what looks like a audio recording, which is what all the other lore-giving spheres are. But also, that would probably give me a small heart attack if I turned around and saw anyone. I can't even find my way through this one. And so it's failure on top of failure. Yeah, I definitely am thinking along the terms of something like Myst, where you have Atris show up usually at the beginning of all the Myst games and talk to you, give you a quest, give you a reason to be doing anything in the world. Because yeah, there is a small problem in that you might just wander around the world and never actually try to solve any puzzles or even know that there are puzzles to solve. In a lot of ways, I think that was the problem with like walking simulators, which as a concept, walking simulators had probably too much attention given to them, considering how few of them actually were just walking simulators and didn't have other gameplay mechanics, and the ones that were pure walking simulators, just nothing else happening, maybe some lore and story showing up, giving you, I guess, maybe what you would consider a 3D twist on a visual novel. But yeah. I suspect there might be a whole thing where you have to fall into the glass puzzle here through different angles. May very well be the case. Or it may just be the case that this is just the basement. But if there is a basement, there's more of a basement still, we know. You can see that. It's orange part here. How do we get into that? Well, I guess we have to fly our way into it. I don't have any more jumps. So while we're waiting for that, I guess the question to ask here is that possibly it? Probably isn't. Nope. So if you were to do something like that, you could do something like that. But that won't work. You've got to come in at the right angle to either do a full fall one way or the other. So if I could just figure out how to nudge this down one, but I'm not sure you can really nudge it down one. The size of the base here might always limit you. So, yeah, do something like that, and then you could do something like that, but then I guess you could do something like that. So if I started there, but this is where that fails me. Yeah. That totally is wrong. Also, we still have yet to spend 5 minutes to get the large jump back up. I just really want to see what is under here. Although it almost certainly is not anything any newer or more special than any of the other content we've seen. Just a great example of being given enough rope to hang yourself with. Yeah, I'm not finding the pintad sections either. Yeah, I don't want to go up there. And let's jump here. Again, only really makes sense if the game was going to stop you at some point from being able to glide or fly. And it seems to me like there isn't a real thing there. One more giant crystal maze, which does look like it has a shy aura in it. If there was, looks like there might be a floor opening in the floor in the middle there. If there was some kind of secret or surprise for getting all the shy auras, that would be interesting, but only if I cared about the rest of the game. Yeah, the numbers really just kill this. And I know I've been describing that as them selling the game as having 10,000 plus puzzles, but really, it doesn't matter about the 10,000 plus potential puzzles. What matters is that there isn't a finite, well-designed collection of puzzles that your average player would run into. And instead, there is just a lot of, here's a random puzzle, exactly the same as any other thousands of random puzzles you might have encountered already, or hundreds at the very least. It might very well be a case where they tried to make everything special, and when you try to make everything special, nothing is special. Yeah, I definitely see a scenario where you'd have to run through this whole place a second time. There are some beginnings of interesting gameplay, certainly in this. If the arcs, for instance, were just in a completely different game and there was 100 to 300 arcs to collect. Interesting. What was I supposed to learn from that? Has there been a trick this whole time where if you just crouch down you can enter areas? No? It just seems like that's an odd experiment. It doesn't seem like it leads to anything. I think we're probably going the wrong direction. I must have missed something. There definitely is a point to be made here that the player's time being wasted has really hit a whole new level compared to, say, something like Assassin's Creed. Where Assassin's Creed 2 or so were games that would give you like 300 collectible feathers to find. This is an interesting thought, certainly, as far as I can't hit that. Being on the outside and in the darkness of the puzzle, of the crystal maze. Which, yeah. What's the pattern here? 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 5, 1, 4. 1 did a bunch of that. 1 did a bunch of that. I would assume that the move is to probably put 1 in one of these positions. If I was to guess. So it wouldn't intersect with any of the other things, but these intersect and these intersect, so that doesn't inherently feel correct. 1 space 1. One and a big space. Yeah. No clue. This may very well be just some kind of observation puzzle. So was this the secret? Was this the extra puzzles to find and solve? Still have that big jump up. Hitting these orbs, they've made them easier by doing that. We've solved 69 puzzles. That's a pretty good number to end on, really. In this area, we know if we look at the map, if 90 is the next one as far as the challenge, then there's 3 more challenges after that, and if it went from 30 to 60 to 90, then you can assume that there's a 120, a 150, and a 180 puzzle. Yeah, it's very believable. How do we get back here to actually finish the maze? That's the question. I fully expect that there isn't any more. Yeah. We're just outside the maze at this point. I suspect there's actually not a way back inside the maze from a different angle. So let's see if we can follow a path here. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and teleport here. And I think it would be more informative to look at the outside of this puzzle, of this giant cube, than it would be to look at the inside of it now. So yeah, somewhere down here is the whole puzzle. And seemingly this bottom part here does not open and does not lead toward anything. Yeah. Unless it was something crazy like solving all the puzzles in the Vault of Vitric. But I honestly just don't believe that there's actually anything that's going to happen here. If we got all of that, if we got all of the Mariblisses in the world, I don't know if Vault of Vitric is really giving us any progress as far as these puzzles, and we definitely didn't see any lore fragments, so I'm very confused as far as just where do we get the lore fragments from. Unless Echo of Times are considered lore fragments, which maybe they are in that menu. Which most of the Echoes of Times would require you to just become very skilled at solving a lot of puzzles in a lot of areas. And yeah, our 2 hours of barely trying has gotten us 2,000 sparks. Yeah, and there's just not any real progress that would be made in any of the other areas. Still never really did find out in Shady Wildwood where that extra trial is. As far as I can see, I don't see it on the map. Which maybe means it is there and I just have never walked past it. That is a possibility. But yeah, Vault of Vitric isn't anything but more. I mean, I don't know how to describe it any other way than that. It is just more of the same. It is definitely not satisfactory to me as somebody who's been burnt out by just far too many puzzles. Which I could see why now the puzzles have timers on them. Because without timers and unloading a lot of puzzles, the game would be even more overwhelming. Yeah. The only other thought I could think would be to fly around looking for any more lore givers. There's not any armillary rings in the Vault of Vitric, which that's interesting. There's actually several types of puzzles that aren't inside the Vault of Vitric. There's not anything on the map that points you towards lore givers. All-Seeing Monolith proved to be incredibly useless for something called the All-Seeing Monolith. It didn't unlock any kind of things on the map, it didn't unlock any kind of radar. I heavily suspect this game would never add any new content. I heavily suspect this game might, not for certain, but might already be mostly abandoned in the minds of its creators as soon as they added the single player mode. That probably was an admission that they couldn't really just constantly add content. I don't think the game is a better product, even if it was constantly adding content. It would be a slightly longer experience, but it would be catering to, I think, a almost completely non-existent audience. Like, I really question how many people would want more in comparison to something like Myst or The Witness. I seriously doubt I would ever want to come back and play this game, even knowing that there's significant portions of puzzles here that I haven't solved. So the best justification in the world to come back and play this game exists, and still it's not good enough. Because I'm playing the single player mode, I don't feel any level of competition. There's no leaderboards or anything like that. But yeah. Well, I might be interested still in seeing somebody speedrun this game. I suspect the speedrun strategies around playing this game are going to be very disappointing, in that the speedruns are very possibly are going to be hours and hours long still. Here we have, perhaps the unknown realm could still hold a finite amount of energy despite hosting an infinite number of worlds. Your thought eludes me, scholar. Imagine a river fed by 10 rivulets, with each rivulet fed by 10 small streams, which are fed by 10 tiny brooks, and so on, continuing forever. Despite the riverbank being an infinite journey, only a finite amount of water flows. Sounds like a long walk with little water. It is a good thing we do not need to drink. So they're aware of the concept of drinking, but they don't need to do it. Weird. Did we really ever spend a lot of time looking around this temple? I am stuck in the ground. That is probably the best way to end this episode. But yeah. Just trying to fly around here and see if maybe I could see more lore givers, or somehow fly past this. I think this area in particular is the best example of just overfilling the world with trees. There's effectively, like in the first Myst game, on the first Myst Island, one tree of major importance. And I don't really think there are any other trees you would take notice of, or that exist even at all in that game. Where here, none of these trees are important. They're just making it visually messier. Making it more difficult to see things. This is the area with the most shy auroras, so if there was going to be anything around collecting all the shy auroras, you'd think it would be in this area. Yeah, it's just like the opposite of one of the sales pitch Skyrim. used, kind of a fake sales pitch, a kind of a lie as a sales pitch, was Todd Howard said, you see that mountain, you can climb to the top of that mountain, but that's literally the only mountain in the game you really are encouraged and have to climb to the top of. Well, in this case, you see that crystal maze, you can go to that crystal maze and solve the puzzles. But stand here, you see that crystal maze? No, you don't. My point, which I agree is probably getting somewhat rambly, is why isn't this a much less of a forested area so that you could actually see sections? If it's this dense specifically for like the scenic puzzles, then they should have just left the scenic puzzles on the cutting room floor. They should have left a lot of things on the cutting room floor. Alright, well. Yeah. I still don't think I'm gonna ever find this trial. Okay, I have no clue as to where it would be. I guess the question is it possible that there's an enclave? Let's zoom out here. Is it possible that there's an enclave that we didn't visit? But yeah, inherently, you see the map, you could add a whole new island if you wanted to. And in that island, you could copy and paste all the seemingly infinite puzzles from the previous islands. You could introduce a new concept of a puzzle if you wanted to, but you don't inherently have to. There are no more mysteries, so you could totally add more mysteries. But what would improve this game way more is if you went in the other direction and added systems that would make solving puzzles easier. Make an island that would teleport all the logic puzzles into one location that you haven't solved. Or make a radar system. Probably would be better to make a radar system than to simply have a layout like this of just here are all the logic puzzles, here are all the location puzzles. Most of the location puzzles you really couldn't move without changing things. So I guess in the orientation of this, the first act of the game is to reach this spot, which you do fairly early. The second act of the game was to solve all the mysteries, which you'd have to take forever to do. And then somehow they think the third act of the game would have been to get to this spot. Yeah. I just don't believe that that is really the case. And here is where you would have gotten... You should have had a cutscene and saw the Auroral. And maybe seen the Auroral fly off to the fracture. The fracture here, as a story, seems like it is just going to be left hanging. I don't know what you could even really do about the fracture. The only thought would be that you potentially would have had to play the game in a single player mode up until this point, and then the fracture would have let you load into your friends' worlds, which wouldn't have been an MMO at that point. It would have just been a it would have just then been a online comparison experience. What happens if we just walk off? suppose if you wanted to add content, the fracture would be a way in which you could do that, so I see the point of how that was written. Let's see. If there was some kind of mystery in solving this puzzle in particular, I don't see how you do that by just ignoring all the rules. And it's not like I have a hint or anything around that. Guess we've been clicking on pearls this whole time, so it's probably worth trying to click on this pearl. I could see this whole area expanding. Just new content if they were going to add new content. Of course, the right move would not be to add new content, and the right move would be to instead. So is this just supposed to be the sun? Yep. The right move would be to make a sequel. But even that wouldn't make a lot of sense. We got all the way up there. That didn't do anything. See, if I was gonna fly up into that, if this is supposed to be the fracture, instead of that being the fracture, that's much higher. Grab my warp. It would take me to vaulted heights. It's just a whole bunch of rock here. I did have a warp vaulted heights established there at one time. Did I ever reach that island? I think you go to that island to reach that island. I'm assuming that is vaulted heights even. Could be wrong. Yeah, pretty obviously this is just a skybox. And I've gotten into a pattern of just kind of repeating the same criticisms, but there are some other criticisms here, certainly. Clearly this is a game that was at some point going to be targeted to more of the Asian markets. It is very weird that there's just no medieval architecture like you would have seen in the Tao's Principle. There's no Western styles of architecture at all. It's just Japanese pagodas, Indian temples, and more Indian temples in the 4th and 5th area are basically the same. Egyptian and Greek. Well, I guess technically we would say the Greek ones are Western influenced, but yeah. Medieval is specifically, I guess, missing as a weird choice. Here it definitely doesn't look like the skybox is we're getting any closer to this. So the point to ask here, can we just fly backwards? I guess we can. Yeah. We're 1,600 meters away from that point I just made. And things are getting smaller, certainly. Visually. Although I'm not sure if in the Unreal Engine you couldn't actually just make things look smaller and not actually move the player. I imagine you could. Just cheat it. Yeah, I could be in an eternal ocean. Oh, weirdly, this does kind of feel like we are maybe getting closer. What I need to do though is I guess the question is, is there actually a secret here? Can you fly to the sun? Or is the picture just... Well, I either fell down too low in that case, or I went as far as the game would let me go. And yeah, so we're left with two possibilities, neither one very satisfactory in that case. Yeah. The fact that every time you fall and you get a line of dialogue that says you're safe and you won't die from the aurora makes me feel that the aurora is still alive and around. Which, okay. That doesn't give you much of a story. That doesn't really mean much other than the aurora is around as a goddess and watching over you, but you can't see her, and you can't interact with them. So it's kind of pointless. In a nutshell, that's the whole game in its major problems, is that there's a lot of work that clearly was put into developing all of this, but it just does not coalesce into something that makes a lot of sense. The whole RPG elements in an MMO seems really silly, in particular that it's not just levels that would go up and up and up. If you were going to have upgrades that, say, gave you more sparks, you would assume you could just continuously put skill points into it, at least until there's like a level 10 version of this that would give you more sparks. In direct contrast to the upgrades not working that way, you do have this mastery that does work that way, where you can just constantly get more skill points, but then mastery feels fairly pointless because it really is just a season pass equivalent. And yeah, it's pretty obvious that this was designed at some point that there would be a gold version and a silver version of a monthly or quarterly season pass that you would level up by solving more puzzles. In fact, most of this game has that weird twinge of how could we monetize this, and then none of it is monetized, which does seem strange to say the least. we got all the insights. We are still missing a lot of lore fragments. I don't know if maybe the idea would have been to read or mark like you've read lore fragments to unlock other lore fragments. I suspect that's not really the case. Like this Trans-Universal Proverb 9 being in between 8 and 10, which was already unlocked, pretty much just means I didn't find it the right one. Whereas Silent Wonder might be hidden somewhere important to finish the end of that narrative. All this story is awful. And we've gotten the rest of this lore. Yeah, clearly had they had more budget or spent the budget more wisely, you would have had all of this dialogue A, written better, and B, probably voice acted. You could have easily had just one voice actress to play the Aurora in this character and do all the other characters. We did all the mysteries by cheating. And then you have the completely pointless in single player custom character system, which is probably mostly the default custom character that you could set up, or very close to a default setup for the Unreal Engine. Although the fact that there's just a lot of these auras and things just created this very unrelatable characters. And then you have different markings you can put on your arms that you'll never actually see, because you'll never actually be close enough to the character with the camera. You have ridiculous fairy wings. Some of this almost feels like a 10-year-old girl made some suggestions as far as, I want to be able to customize my character, I want to be able to look like a fairy. Like it does just kind of feel like that comes out of nowhere. I spent almost all the time I played this game in first person mode, and it just really would never have made sense to play the game in third person mode. So well, as we watch the credits chug along in a very poor frame rate, I'm noticing here that there is actually a fairly large amount of what looks like Western names, which I am surprised by that. I was totally expecting this to be almost 100% Chinese names. Now I am seeing a lot of Asian names, so almost certainly there was some Asian teams working on it. That would be true for almost any video game, though, or a lot of video games, not all of them. Yeah, I have no idea why this is not scrolling smoothly. Yeah. Let's see, I'm bringing up on my phone Lunark Studios. It says the Islands of Insight development team is available for new work, so they're looking for new work in the fields of open world game development, multiplayer programming, tooling, editing, backend and servers, procedural generation, Unreal Engine development, custom engines, environmental creation, light materials and visual effects, performance and graphics optimization, technical art and animation. I didn't see any animation in this game really, other than the movements of your character customization system, puzzle design and development, and mathematical or economic system design. Apparently there are a bunch of nerds from MIT, interesting, and that they have been around since 2010, so that's almost 14 years. It's a multi-talented 20-person team of people who are gifted in math, science, engineering, other technical professions. And the credits ended. I wasn't really paying attention to them, but I do like to show them off just in case there was something there. So this game has, I think, a lot of features here, perhaps as a way of selling themselves, but also as a way of putting their game that clearly was in development hell for, if they've been around since 2010 and this came out, I think, in 2024, maybe 2023. You're talking over a decade, 13, 14 years of development. Clearly this feels like this is at least 2 games that were mashed together. And now, knowing that it was made by a bunch of nerds at MIT, I almost wonder if the problem here is that the makers of this game, or Lunark Studio in general, is just full of a bunch of possibly autistic puzzle fans that aren't gamers first and just probably don't have as much of an experience as far as playing video games that they could relate to. If they really have been working on this game for over a decade, that means also this game would have been well into development probably before you would have seen anything from the Talos Principle or The Witness. You would have seen Myst, however. Myst has been around for like 25 years, so there definitely could have been some comparisons there that they could have done better. You would have seen other puzzle games in general. But yeah, I just think they totally missed the mark here, and that's not even getting back into the rant of just being ultra obsessive here with like video settings, and yet not having any controller settings. Yeah, that's another thing that just screams we don't know games well enough. Yeah. Increasingly, as I end these episodes, I don't have any big passionate ending for a series, and it's pointless to sit here and try and stretch for one, so I'm just gonna say that's gonna be it for Islands of Insight. We have gotten nowhere close to solving all of the puzzles. I will almost certainly never get anywhere close to solving all the puzzles. I don't think any player really is going to get close to solving all the puzzles. And of what I have seen, I just got bored of it fairly quickly. We are probably somewhere between 80 and 100 hours, probably closer to 100 hours into the gameplay, and I lost interest in this game mostly around the 70, maybe 80 hour mark, which even that is 10 hours, 20 hours longer than your average 60-hour game they really should have been targeting. Anyways, that's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. If you go to my YouTube page, there is a playlist tab which has a playlist for every game I've ever covered. So, by all means, go check out The Talos Principle. Go check out The Witness. Go check out Abduction. Go check out Myst 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are all better puzzle games. In fact, almost every puzzle game I've ever covered, I would say, is better than this. Not because there's any major problem with a puzzle game, which you'd have to really screw up to have a major problem with a puzzle game, but just because this is just an overwhelming amount of bland, mushy puzzles, logic grid puzzles that are just not that interesting. The Talos Principle is probably the best comparison, though, because there are puzzles very similar to some of the puzzles in this game, but way less of them. And Talos Principle released a spin-off prequel game called Sigils of Elohim that you can, I believe, get for free to do more of those puzzles if you wanted to, and to practice those puzzles before the Talos Principle was even released. Had Islands of Insight done something like that, they could have moved several thousand of the logic grid puzzles into a spin-off demo game. But yeah, check out some of those games on my playlist tab. Check out some of those playlists. And that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.